Well. You're listening to Gloves Off with Professor Buitrón. Alright then, I may say words on point, straightforward. No jibber jabber, everybody forward. Issues, facts and solution. Get it at Gloves Off with Professor Buitrón. Alright, one other thing is a revolution. Get it on point with Professor Buitrón. Gloves Off. No nonsense issues, politics, community. A better men follow reader. Gloves Off, a revolutionary show with everything that you need to know. With Professor Buitrón. Watch ya!
Gloves Off is always on point. Bringing you the best on current issues, community affairs, and the happenings around us. This segment of Gloves Off is brought to you by the best, so pay them a visit. Check them out. This is Gloves Off.
For 30 years, Buitron Academy has produced great fighters, peace officers, firemen, and many great citizens of Laredo. We teach various martial arts, savate, kempo, capoeira, each in their own traditions, trajectory, history, and pedagogy. Buitron Academy is the first school of savate in the United States, the first capoeira movement in Texas, the first Kempo school in Laredo. What will one expect to see at Buitron Academy? Respect, fellowship, coordination, skill, and self-defense. Buitron Academy is located at 220 West Hillside Road.
The following political paid advertisements do not reflect the political opinions of the program or its associates. Any political campaign or candidate who wishes to purchase advertising can do so. Advertising is open to all on behalf of Gloves Off.
We're back at you with gloves off, and today we have a great woman leader of Texas, one that's running for Congress, Dr. Alma Arredondo-Lynch. How are we doing, doctor?
Muy bien, gracias. ¿Cómo está usted?
Bien, bien. ¿Y usted? ¿Cómo está?
Muy bien, muy bien. Gracias por haberme invitado a venir a estar en su programa.
Gracias a usted por se levantar y colocar su firma para lanzarse para candidata del Congreso de los Estados Unidos.
Pues eso no fue difícil porque la persona que estuve corriendo en contra, esa persona no estaba representando nuestros valores del distrito y ya tenía él 4 años de estar y era algo muy triste porque toda la mayoría de los votos estaba unas ideas muy liberales con los demócratas y él había sido nominado y él ganó bajo las pólizas que uno tenía en el Partido Republicano o en el Partido Viejo, como se decía más antes.
Claro. We're gonna be going back and forth, English and Spanish, and we're gonna continue going because that's just basically the way Texas is. And you ran against Hurd, correct?
Yes, I ran against Hurd in 2016, and I managed to get about 20% of the vote without any name recognition. And there was only 3 people in my group: myself, my campaign manager Terry DeBose, and her husband, who was the treasurer, was Jack DeBose. And it was exciting. It was the first time I ever run for public office, and I met a lot of people. And of course, I was not in social media at the time. I was a very, very private person. And when they said that you couldn't be a very private person to run for public office. So that's when I was introduced to Facebook. I had heard a lot about Facebook, but I didn't want to engage myself into that because people reveal too much in that. And so I learned to manage that pretty well. And here I am, my second run, but he's not running now. He decided not to run.
And we met because of social media, and we became
Yes.
very good friends because of that. And I've seen you grow, and I've seen your popularity grow. You have a lot of following. You have people from all over Texas following you. And because you voice your opinion, and that's basically what we need. We need somebody that's going to be foot on the ground, head held high, and let's do what's right for our community. What was the main reason you said, you know what, it's my time to start running?
Well, basically, I vet candidates, and what I do is I write editorials, paid editorials, because the newspaper will not allow me to print the editorials, because when you're going to vet someone, it's not justice to just give them 2 or 3 sentences. You have to go through the whole 9 yards and explain to them, well, why are you not supporting this person anymore? What you do is you do research on their voting record and try to put the pieces together, and then put it together and then present it to your community so they can make wise choices. And Will Hurd, for the most part, had been voting with the Democrats about 76% of the time, and Mr. Mark Levin and his scorecard would actually give them a grade. And Will Hurd had a grade of an F because he was voting on very liberal issues. And I think the straw that broke the camel's back was the fact that when he voted to keep John Boehner and at the very beginning, and then Obamacare. And people don't understand that Obamacare was not really out there to help the poor people, because in the end, the taxes kept accumulating that you had to pay into to belong to that healthcare system. But it was very poorly done, and it was the worst thing that could have ever happened to the United States.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's kind of, people say, well, she's a doctor. You're a dentist, of course, right?
Yes.
And your practice is in Uvalde?
Yes, I've been there 15 years.
And what took you to Uvalde?
Well, my husband was a special agent in charge with U.S. Customs. And so we had lived along the border, like from McAllen, Mission, and I am from Rio Grande City, and then we lived in Falcon, and then we moved up to El Paso, and then we moved down to Zapata. And in between that time, my husband was a firearms instructor for FLETC in Georgia. So we met a lot of people over there, and eventually we came back to Texas, and we wound up in McAllen, and then from there, because I went through dental school, he was sent to El Paso. I was hoping he would get a duty station in Houston because I was going to school there. And you know how the federal government always works. They wound up sending him to El Paso. So he was in El Paso, I was in Houston. So we were hundreds of miles away. And eventually we wound up in Zapata back again, or in El Paso for a year, and then we moved back to Zapata. And what happened was, the last year that, before my husband retired, he arrested Pepe Guevara, who happened to be the county judge from Zapata, the county sheriff, Romeo Ramirez, and Shorty Flores, who was the county clerk. And so when they were put behind bars, we needed to move away as far as possible. So we moved up to the mountains of western Washington State, and we were over there for about 3 years. And then we moved back to Texas, and we bought a ranch in Uvalde, and we settled near Garner State Park.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful ranch. It's a beautiful area.
Oh, well, thank you.
All that area of the hill country, it's beautiful.
It's really heaven for people who don't know that. It's just very heavenly up there.
Absolutely, it's a beautiful place, and that's a very interesting story because you're also one of the ones that voices for border security.
Yes.
How would you say we need border security? Because we live here in Laredo. I'm for border security, okay? And you have a lot of opposition from individuals that say that we don't need it, that there's nothing going on, that there's no crisis. And while we can hear machine guns if you go down to the river, you hear them every night. You see the videos that people post on social media, and yet people are oblivious, or they're being naive that that's going on, or just on purpose not admitting the wrongs that are occurring at the border. Why would you?
Well, first of all, we do have a big border problem. Contrary to some of the Democrat beliefs that it's a manufactured crisis by the present president that we have, it's not. I've lived on the border, and I see the problems that exist on the border. We have, last year, when Governor Abbott said 500 DPS officers to Eagle Pass, I actually crossed the border, and I filmed from the Mexican side to the American side, and I interviewed people from over there, and I went down to the shelters, and these people are coming in by the droves, but you don't hear about it anymore. I believe that we need to have border security, which includes a wall, and any electronic devices that will help us, but most of all, we need to have more manpower on the ground, and we need to bottleneck these illegal aliens, because that's what they are. I'm sick and tired of the politically correct migrants. They're not migrants, they're immigrants into a sovereign nation. And by not having a border, they want to allow anyone to come in, and that is not really what America needs. We are a country of laws, and that's what keeps us and unites us together. And when these people come over here, they don't want to assimilate. They're coming over here to get on the federal programs that we have, that the taxpayers have worked so hard, and they're not enjoying the benefits. But I believe that we need to build a wall and bottleneck them and vet those people that are coming in. Anymore, just like if you have a home, you lock your doors when you go to church, or you go grocery shopping, you go anywhere. Well, why? And these are the very people that are saying, well, we don't need a border wall. Yes, we do. A lot of these people that say we don't need a border wall, guess what? They probably live in gated communities. Because most of the people that live along Laredo, along the border, don't live in gated communities. We live on ranches. We live in small little, not villages, but neighborhoods that, I'm sorry, these people don't live behind gated communities. And so they don't understand that what happens sooner or later, all these people that are coming here illegally are going to wind up in their neighborhoods. And the district that I'm running in, it has 823 miles of border. The majority of the illegals that are coming in through my district. And yes, we have quite a few coming in CD 38, and we need a border wall.
No, you're absolutely correct, and I've had this discussion with many. And the only thing that I would say is there's a lot of wrongs that Congress has done for many years. One, that they never fixed the immigration laws. So that'll be the next thing that I'll ask you. But it seems to have a double standard with Latin Americans coming in as opposed to others in the world, even though they say everything's on the same level. It's really not, in my opinion. But what you see here is a kind of, that doesn't happen, but go to Mexico illegally, see how they're gonna treat you. And see how Mexico's gonna treat you, see if you don't go to jail, see if they don't confiscate your car, see if they don't do those horrific acts that they've done, in the past. People say, no, they didn't happen. Let me tell you, I'm gonna tell you in a story, and it's a story that came when I was a kid, 16 years old. We used to drive back and forth. On my mom's side, we have cousins over there. I have cousins that are Mexican citizens, of course. Most families do, especially that lived on the border,
Yes.
will have cousins and family on the Mexican side. I went over there, and the police stopped me, and they said, you wrecked the car that was over there on the other side of the street. But I didn't come from there, I came from over here. The guy hit me with a nightstick in the back of the head, I still have a scar. They took me to jail, put me to jail. They took me out of the jail, and they set us in a room, and they handcuffed us to a chair, and they basically, it wasn't waterboarding, but they put mineral water up the nose of one of the guys that's there. So when people say this doesn't happen, I saw this with my own eyes. Okay? So when that occurred, they beat that man to a pulp. Okay? It must have been like 19 years old. I was 16 years old. People say, what were you doing in Mexico? We used to drive back and forth. That was just common, This was not on a Friday, it was not on a drunken spree or anything of that nature. I was just going over there to drop off some stuff that my mom wanted and came back and bingo, I hit the lottery. We do not treat Mexicans that way here.
No, we don't.
But Mexico has had a history of treating Americans this way over there. So let's play on a level playing field.
Absolutely.
Okay? Let's play on a level field. If an American citizen would go to Mexico and stay in Mexico illegally, more than likely you will not find them back.
No.
Okay, so let's get that bubble, and let's snap the bubble that people are working in. We have to play in the same field. So our immigration laws have to fix.
Yes.
You as Congress, would you try to head for that to be fixed?
Yes, I think we need to fix those areas that are benefiting Mexico. And I believe that also enforcing the 14th Amendment, and of course that deals with childbirth. And some of the discrepancies that I see quite often is the fact that when Americans want to travel into Mexico, they have to pay impuestos or I can't remember what the word is, but to travel into Mexico, you have to get permission, you have to pay a whole bunch of money to travel down there. And if you don't have the papers on your car, you get arrested and thrown into jail. A lot of the people from Mexico, because our infrastructure is so much better than Mexico, they choose to come in through Laredo or McAllen and use I-35 up to hit 10 and then head out west or wherever they're headed, because our infrastructure, it's safer to be here, to drive in the American side. But Americans don't have that privilege. And another thing is the fact that when Mexicans come over here and buy some goods or whatever, they go down to, they have a special place in the mall or a storefront somewhere where they get their impuestos back.
Right.
And the manifestos, and we don't even have that privilege of doing that. So why should they be allowed to come and buy whatever they want, and they don't have to pay taxes on it? They don't pay a consumer tax, and we have to pay those taxes. So why are Americans treated differently? We need to level the playing field. And yes, we need to change these laws that are affecting us, and also we need basically human rights. They violate the human rights of Americans when they go over there and they're accused of violating whatever laws they decide that you violated, even though you're innocent. So we need to address those issues which have not been addressed.
Absolutely. So number one, the fixing of our immigration laws, that needs to be on a level playing for everybody, across the board, all the countries here.
And what I meant by the 14th Amendment is the 14th Amendment states, and there's a very big misconception where if the mother comes over here and drops the baby, they're automatically American citizens. The 14th Amendment does not allow you to do that. The 14th Amendment was actually directed at the black slaves back after the Civil War. And the 14th Amendment says that the mother, the allegiance of the mother at the time of birth, if her allegiance is to Mexico, then that child's allegiance is to Mexico, not to the United States, just because he was born on American soil. Does not automatically give him American citizenship. And we need to start going back and revisiting these amendments and enforcing those laws, regardless of what the Democrats want. This is wrong, that they should come over here and allow them to have their babies, and then they automatically have a path to citizenship. Well, we can't do that. Do you realize that one Muslim child, when he's born in the United States, can bring in like 432 members of his family because of the chain migration that allows him to do that? Because the father normally is married to maybe 4 or 5 wives, and so each one can bring all their uncles, their grandparents, their parents, their brothers and sisters, and anybody. That you can go back generations, and so that they bring in a lot of. So just one alone can bring 432, and you got to remember that Obama brought in thousands into the United States.
Sure, and that's another issue that needs to be addressed. And what in your area you can say, you know what, this is what I really need to change in your area, because your area is one of the biggest, probably the biggest in continental United States as a congressman.
Yes, we have, CD 23 is the 3rd largest district in the United States. But I say no, it's the largest district within a state in the whole United States, because the first 2 don't count, because those are individual states, Montana and Wyoming. So Montana and Wyoming only have 1 rep for each state. Texas, we have quite a few. And my district is 58,000 square miles. 58,000 square miles with 823 miles. We a border. I have 2 time zones, Central and Mountain Time, and we have 4 interstates. We have the 2 largest oil-producing areas in the world: the Permian Basin and the Eagle Ford. So my district is very, very important, and I'm telling you, we have between San Antonio and El Paso. In between, we have ranching and farming. And so the industry, or the district that I'm hoping to represent, has a variety, a multiplicity of concerns. You know, the ranching and farming, the ranching, the fact that we are importing beef from Brazil, and the high tariffs for us to export our beef, it's not equally based. And we need to be exporting more beef into foreign countries, open up the markets in Japan and Thailand and in those other areas, even to the south of us. So we can be able to give them an equal footing. And I believe that the president, with his signing of the China bill, is going to be importing more beef and other farming commodities, and also our sheep and goats. And people don't realize that we have a huge sheep and goat industry in CD 23. And there, at first I was really excited because we were having a good, you might say, markets for our sheep and goats, because Australia was having a huge drought. Well, we went through 200 days without any rain, and that really hurt our sheep and goat industry, and of course our ranchers and the beef, and also the wildlife. And so we just got a little bit of rain recently, but these are the things that affect us directly that we need to be concerned about. And also being able to export our vegetables, our products being produced by our farmers, is another thing that we need to be concerned about. And that's some of the areas that I want to address.
Those are all good, because you do have that. All those other commodities like the beef and the mutton and lamb, all that is crucial to other nations, but we have to start exporting them out.
Yes.
And we're not doing that. And like I said, our president's done good. Okay?
Absolutely.
And especially with that sense, because he's taking care of America.
He's putting Americans first. Republicans and the president are advocating for the American people. If you look at the Democrats, they're advocating for illegal aliens and everything that's negative, socialism, Obamacare, and a lot of these issues that are very detrimental to our district and to the United States. So when I go to Congress, I will make sure that the CD23 is first on the list, and then we got to remember that any decisions we make will have an impact on the rest of the country. Just like illegal immigration, it says, well, you know, in Pennsylvania, it says, we don't need a wall. Well, how do you know? You're not here. Sooner or later, you're going to be a border state, because these illegal aliens are going to wind up in your state. And it'll be hitting your social status with the people that, instead of you spending money on the senior citizens and in the youth groups or the youth generation, you're going to be spending it on illegal aliens when that money should be invested back into the community to American citizens.
No, you're absolutely correct. And there are some good Democrats out there. We can't condone all of them.
Please don't misunderstand. I agree with you. Yes, sir. There's a lot. I've met some very good Democrats.
We have some good Democrats that are out there fighting for their districts just as much. And I think the key word here, whether it's Democrats as well as or Republicans, is that you have conservatives.
Yes.
You have a pendulum that's swinging. And there's a huge area at the bottom. People say, no, 50-50, Republicans, no. You have a huge area in the bottom that are conservatives. And that goes this way. It can go to the left or to the right.
Yes.
Right. And those conservatives are our silent voters.
Yes.
Okay? Sometimes, if I live in Laredo, there's no Republican candidates, I have to vote for the most conservative Democrat.
And you do have
And
them.
you have, and we have them. So we have to be that way. So we can't say, oh, we're going to condone on what? No, but so, and you have the far left and you have the far right.
Yes.
We're on the right. We have dangerous individuals as well.
Yes.
And we have some Looney Tunes they're out there that should not be there. You know, you're like,
find them,
and you find them everywhere. You're like looking at them like, okay.
You find them in your own family.
No, you find them. Yeah, and so as that pendulum's going back and forth, it just depends. And right now, it's playing on the conservatives, and it's touching conservatives on both sides.
Yes. What's happening is that you have Democrats, like you said, that are good, and they're very dissatisfied the direction that their party has gone. It's gone too far to the left, and advocating socialism. And then you have people that are up here that are also Republicans that they're out of whack and out of touch. And those are the ones that are creating problems on each end. But you have some, I said, like that are dissatisfied with the Republican Party, and then you have those that are dissatisfied with the Democrat Party, and they have left the party, but they don't want to join the Republicans, and then you have Republicans that are very dissatisfied with the Republican Party that are not going to join the Democrats. It would be a cold day in hell if they do that. So now you have a mixture mingling here with the same ideas and to an extent, and that's what I call, and I've coined it, political purgatory. Mm-hmm. And so those are the people that we need to reach out to, the people that are in political purgatory, that don't belong here, they don't want to go over here, and vice versa. They have good ideas, and we need to reach out to them because they want what's good for their country.
You know, we have way too many in Congress that are spoiled.
Yes.
They have way too many in Congress that it's my feelings and I don't like you, and that's with this circuit that's going up there with the impeachment, which is another different story. But so when we look at those individuals, and now we're looking at you, and God willing, next year you're going to be swearing in on hand on the Bible, and you're saying, would you advocate for term limits? Because that's something that is now needed because of this fiasco.
We have too many elected officials. We have too many elected officials that have been there for decades that have lost touch with their communities, with really what's happening in America. They're isolated. They have no earthly idea. And I'll give you an example, like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. They've been there, and Nadler. They've been there for decades. And of course, Biden too. And of course, we have them in the Republican Party too. We need to have movement of fresh blood go through those halls of Congress. I believe in term limits. I believe that if I go in there when I am elected, I want to serve 3 terms, which is 6 years. If I can't accomplish what I've wanted to in 6 years, that's more than enough time. Then I have no business being in there. I promise the people that I will only run for 3 2-year terms, and then I'm done. And I think that we should have term limits for everybody. And the longer you allow them to stay there, the longer they touch, the longer they've been there, they start traveling in that direction away from the people, that they lose touch. They don't ever look back. And that's one of the reasons that I'm running, is because Will Hurd did that. He was not showing our values or voting our values in Congress. And so we needed to do something. And these people, again, they have lost a touch with the people the grassroots. And you know, we're the people that make America move. We're the ones that pay taxes. We're the ones that pay Social Security.
Absolutely.
And then when they wind up rating the Social Security, what happens? These people can't make ends meet because, well, you only qualify, you're making too much money, you don't qualify only for this much Social Security. Yet you get an illegal alien that comes across and they automatically get $3,700 in a plastic card. And they're gonna deny it, but that card gets charged every month. So if illegal aliens can get $3,700, but yet I met a lady this morning that said, Dr. Alma, I'm unemployed and I can't make ends meet and they won't give me food stamps. I have to go see the doctor. I don't know what to do. I was at a loss for words. And yet we're giving all these benefits and rating the Social Security system so we can pay for these people that are coming from across illegally. And I have a problem with that. I need to go back. I need to go into Congress, be elected to Congress, so we can restore that money back into the funds that it was really meant to for the American citizens.
You know, you're absolutely correct, because that happens here in Laredo. You know, the anchor babies happens here in Laredo. Here in Laredo, they're all over the place. I mean, you used to go to school and everybody, the vast majority live in Nuevo Laredo. In the morning they'll get dropped off here because they were U.S. citizens and then go back in the afternoon. And they had the benefits of both sides and they hated America. They loved Mexico, lindo, querido, quiero ir pa Mexico, and blah, 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 blah. But they hated the United States, but they wanted all the benefits. Now you see them living here. And you have a vast majority of business owners that are living here as cartel refugees, because if they were over there, they were getting extorted and so on and so forth. So you have a lot of people that were well off in Nuevo Laredo that are living in Laredo, Texas, that deny that the violence is over there, but they're over here because they were being extorted over there. Huge number of families.
Yes, sir. But you know what? It's not exclusive to Laredo. You find that all the way from Brownsville all the way to El Paso. And I was not surprised when they were telling me this. And yet, they don't want to assimilate. They don't want to become American citizens. They don't. And they're always advocating, you know, we need to get Texas back to Mexico. And I go, okay. I asked them 2 questions. And I go, if you can answer those questions, maybe I'll sit down and visit with you about this. And my questions are, how long was Mexico under Spanish rule? How long was Texas under Mexican rule? And they can't answer that question. I said, if you look at what's happening, you're living over here because of all the violence in Mexico. Why would you want to take Texas and ruin it? Take it back into Mexico. It doesn't make any sense.
You're absolutely correct. And you see these individuals, and they come here, and you have one thing in there. You said they don't want to assimilate.
They don't.
You don't. People forget, especially here in the border towns. You have Tejanos, you have Mexican Americans, and you have Mexican nationals that live here. And of course, you have your American, your Anglo families that are here. In Laredo and in some other communities, you see it here in Laredo, you get the Mexican national that comes here with business. They'll open up a lot of businesses together, and they will support their own businesses. They will not support any of the businesses of anybody else, whether it's a physician or a dentist or what have you. Okay? And people look at that kind of differently. And I know this goes on because I've had conversations with people in the valley, and it occurs. You have that type of, people say, we had an incident here where you had a young man, Mexican national, living here. He was born here, but lived all his life over there. Came here, went to high school here, went out with a nice girl from Laredo. Okay, Mexican American or Tejana from there. Very nice couple they would have made. As soon as he went off to college, they were about to get married. All of a sudden, bingo, the kid was married off to some other girl from Mexico because the mom did not like the fact that she was going to be married to a Tejana. So, is there prejudice and discrimination? Yes, there is. So we have to start putting a stop to that, or we're going to continue. So when people come here, Tejanos especially, we're we get discriminated from all sides.
All sides.
Okay, so now it's good to have a Tejana running for Congress.
And you know, when on my Facebook page, I always start fellow Tejano, Texan, American. And they go, well, why do you want to create such a divide? Well, let me enlighten you as to why. Because when you say Tejano, these are Mexicans that were in Texas long before Texas was a republic. We've been here. The border crossed us. I'm a Tejana. I was born and raised in the same Spanish land grant that was deeded to our family back in 1763. So I don't have allegiance to Mexico because we were there. Now, then you have Texans. Those are the ones that came after the Battle of the Battle of the Republic of Texas, and they settled here during that period of time. And Americans are those that are moving in from California, that don't want to have anything to do with California or any other state that moves into Texas because they've drank the water and they always keep coming back to Texas. So they want to come and live here. They love our culture. So you have Tejanos like myself, you have Texans, and then you have Americans. But I tell people I'm an American
Of course.
of rich Mexican heritage.
For sure.
And I did not betray my people. I did not betray anyone. I consider myself an American.
Sure.
And
Yes.
so I wanted to
Likewise,
clarify that.
I consider myself Tejano before American.
Yes.
You're from Texas.
Yeah, I'm from
That's the best
Texas.
state.
And then American.
Then American, but no, but of course, we love our red, white, and blue.
Yes, we
That's
do.
just the way it is. Let's look at another interesting point that's coming right now, and especially in Virginia, our Second
Oh my
Amendment.
gosh.
What do you feel about our Second Amendment?
Well, feel is an emotion, I believe. I believe that we need to defend the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment was written into the Constitution or into the, into our Constitution to help us defend ourselves against a tyrannical government. Virginia is becoming very tyrannical. And if you disarm your citizens, then you can control them better. And it's not guns that kill people, because that's what the excuse that they're using. It's a mental illness that's causing these problems. And some don't want to use mental illness because then they get off and they won't give them a death sentence. But the Second Amendment is very vital. And like I tell people, it's the holy grail of Texas. It's what made Texas, it's what gave us our freedom. And so I have been to Austin to appear before the committee set up by Greg Abbott when the red flags were sent out by him after the Santa Fe shooting. And so I went and defended them, and I do not agree, and I will fight to keep our Second Amendment the way it is, the way it's written, to let them know that, of course, the guns are our holy grail because it established who we are, helped us defend ourselves. But our needs are very different than those in big cities, because in big cities you have the police, and if you have something like somebody being held hostage or some shootout like at Walmart or whatever, the police will respond within minutes. But if you're like me who lives on a ranch, the response time is going to run anywhere between 30 to 40 minutes. I'm not going to wait until they get there. I'm going to have my gun, and if I have to defend myself, I'd rather go ahead and shoot the culprit and be tried by 12 than carried by 6 any day.
No, you're absolutely, because we talk about self-defense and we talk about why, we talk about red flags, and the right to defend ourselves is a God-given right.
Yes, it is.
Period. The second was not placed there for hunting, which a lot of people believe is for
No, it
hunting.
was not.
It was placed here for the government not to control us.
Right.
For us to be able to put the stop to a government that has gone rogue. Kind of like what's
And it's
going
on the verge
And
with
it's on the
Virginia.
verge. It's on the verge of snapping. And right now we need God more here in our land to be able to pacify that, because we're on the verge. There's a lot of talk out there about a second civil war. There's a lot of talk about people raising arms because they're just tired. It's about to snap. And we need to be able to calm ourselves down, because feelings is not what's going to get us in there.
No.
Law is law. And we have to be able to move forward in unity. If we have to remove politicians or public officials that are already elected, then we have to remove them.
So how do you do that? You just can't say you got to step down. it's through the election process.
That, number one, we have to start looking to see what recalls are about, how they've changed recalls. We might even have to tell them, you have to resign.
And right now, with the
And-
governor of Virginia, tensions are running high,
Yes.
and they're saying we're bringing in the United Nations, and I don't believe that the United Nations can come into a sovereign country like ours. And so I think that we need to rise up and show the government that we are not going to have our guns taken away from us. And there's a big misconception, and the government uses any excuse to try to take our guns away. And you know what? Guns do not commit murder. They don't go out and kill people. I have them all over my home because I live on a ranch, and they're at every door. You know what? Those guns have not moved 1 inch unless I go touch it. And I tell people, look, guns don't kill people any more than flies create garbage and a pencil misspells a word.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely correct. And I think, you know, many people out there understood that this is going on. And we have to protect our second. That's number one. And I know just by our conversation that you're going to do so if you get elected.
Oh, I'm very
That-
passionate
you know,
about my
so-
guns.
Oh, same here, you know, and we talked about our immigration laws, which I think you're going to go in there and you're going to start putting your foot down, which needs to happen.
Yes, we need to change the asylum laws. We cannot bring in chain migration. We need to have merit migration. We also need to, again, like I said, we need to go in there also and defend the 14th Amendment, where kids are coming over here or women are coming over here and dropping their children, because we have Chinese nationals that are coming to Seattle and the West Coast, and they're just renting rooms until they have a baby. They have the baby and they go back to China, and they're already, you know, on the path to citizenship because of chain migration. We need to change all of that. We need to have them be willing to become productive citizens. If they do come, they're going to have to show that they can support themselves. And I believe that we need help in the ranching and farming area, but that's no excuse for us to just grant them amnesty. They need to go through some kind of visa or just temporary work visas.
No, you're absolutely correct. Work, you know, there's a lot of differences because, you know, I travel different countries and I teach in different countries. And some countries you need a visa. And then I have to go
Yes.
out there and get a visa to go over there because I'm going to go teach. Whether it's for a weekend or not, I still have to do all the paperwork. Sometimes you go into another country and you respect the laws
Yes.
of that land.
Absolutely.
You know, we try to do what they do. That's the way I've always learned. You know, I went to school in France and I fought in other countries, and you behaved yourself. You did not go out there and, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so we do have some people here that are immigrated to the United States, whether legally or legally, and they've immigrated to the United States and they have not assimilated. But then you have some that have. I think, you know, I was very appalled with reading that there was a lot of soldiers that had just finished their time and they were being deported because of that. I think that's wrong.
I also believe that's wrong. When I worked as a dentist for the U.S. Navy in the Pacific Northwest, I met men from Guadalajara that were serving in our military and had made it a career. I believe that those that have chosen to serve our military and have served well, I believe that they should be granted some kind of citizenship or a path to citizenship and make it easier for them. Just like women who marry men or vice versa that are willing to travel with their husbands to foreign countries, it used to be that you would be granted a citizenship if you took the test, but it was a shorter version than what they offer. And so they became citizens, and I believe that we should be able to keep those men that served our country and gave us our freedom, that went out there, defended the process, and partook of the process, that we should grant them citizenship. And we're talking about a whole different story than those that are coming over here illegally.
Absolutely. And one thing that, you know, we talked about, which I like, and I would like for you to express that, is that you did a lot of work with the Navy.
Yes.
With your profession, as a
Right.
dentist, right? Explain that, because I think that is, you've always been serving.
Yes, in one capacity or another. When we moved away from South Texas because of the 3 people that my husband put behind bars, we moved up to Washington State, and I was fortunate enough to get a job with the U.S. Navy because they didn't have any Navy dentists serving the base there in the Port of Everett. And so when I was hired, I was doing dentistry on actually the men that came off the USS Abraham Lincoln. And if you remember, the USS Abraham Lincoln was the ship that our president flew in, George Bush flew in his jet on into. And then if people have seen the movie Behind Enemy Lines, Carl Vinson, I took care of the men and women from the Carl Vinson, and I was so honored to be able to be associated with that ship. And that came to as close as perfect dentistry as ever. And so my responsibility in the Navy was to pull teeth, to do nothing but extractions. So I kept the readiness at 98.5% because many times these young men and women might not be in a larger ship, but they were smaller boats that kind of like go ahead of the larger ships as, you know, lookouts. They don't have a dentist on board. And so you have a few dentists on ship. It's actually a small floating city on those huge Abraham Lincoln and the Carl Vinson. You have like 7,000 to 10,000 people in there, Navy men and Navy women, and for like 7 dentists, that's a lot. And so, yes, I was hired to do dental work, and I was there for two years. I would have probably stayed on longer, but my mom suffered a stroke, and we needed to move back to Texas. And that was the best dentistry ever. And now that I'm in Uvalde, I service a lot of veterans. And some of the veterans don't have any benefits because they're not 100% disabled. And so what I do is I do free dental care on our veterans.
Well, that's admirable.
To an extent, or I would go broke because there's a lot of veterans. So emergency office visits and, you know, pulling teeth and things like that. Maybe a cavity, I'll fix a cavity or so. And but I do take care of them. I'm very proud. I'm very happy. And along those lines, and if you don't mind, I'd like to talk about more about veterans. One of the things that I would like to do when I go to Congress is those men and women that are veterans that are 50% disabled, they don't qualify for a lot of the benefits because they're not at 100% disabled. I would like to be able to work towards the end of giving them if they're 50% disabled, then give them 50% cut on all their taxes. So if you're 60% disabled, then we should cut your taxes by 60%. If you're 70%, 80% tax cuts on whatever, you know, the taxes on their home or whatever that they have to pay. They don't have to wait until they're old and then they freeze their tax burden. And if you're 90, I would like to be able to give you 90% tax discount. I believe that we need to take care of our men and women that have served in the military, and I believe that that's one way, because taxes can really eat up a lot of your money that you have set aside for your budget.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that, you know, I see that. You know, my father's a physician. I see that they're always helping, that care of helping others, and it's great to see that with you.
Thank you.
Now, we're running out of time, but what would you like to tell your constituents over there about you? Where can they get a hold of you? If they want to put a sign, or where can they get a hold of you to talk to you?
Well, they can look me up on Facebook, Dr.Alma Arredondo-Lynch, and Dr. Alma, it's Dr. no period, Alma Arredondo-Lynch, and or Dr. Alma for Congress. They can reach me at 830-591-9586. That's my personal cell. I carry it with me and I answer any calls. All my patients have my cell number, so when I give it out, anyone can call me.
Well, I want to thank you.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you for standing up and doing something right.
Thank you.
And may God bless you on this venue of campaign. I know you're running around
it's
all over the place.
Yes, I've driven the 58,000 square miles 6 times, and I'm getting ready to at least drive half of it in February. And so I would appreciate people keep me in your prayers. And if you have money that you would like to donate to my campaign, you can mail it to Post Office Box 234, Concan, Texas, 78838. And thank you for having me here.
No, we'll do it.
And I'm a big supporter for the Border Patrol too. I like to give them a pay raise and be able to provide them with an extra week's paid vacation. Those that are stationed in hardship stations like Sanderson, the Big Bend area, those areas, and even it's considered this is a hardship area probably. And those are the ones that deserve our care. Well, all of them do, but especially in those areas that are like there's nobody, nothing there.
No, absolutely, and they're all over the place.
Well, yeah, if you keep the wives or the husbands happy, then the agent's going to be happy too. So we got to keep those agents happy.
Absolutely. Number one. I wanna
Thank you so much for
Thank you so
having
much
me.
for being here.
God bless you.
Folks, and next time, here's Dr. Arredondo. She's running for Congress. Let's put your votes in there, especially in El Paso, San Antonio.
San Antonio.
Uvalde.
Uvalde. Del Rio.
Del Rio.
Yes.
Midland.
I'm sorry?
Midland.
No, not Midland is not in my district, but you know, I have Monahan, Fort Stockton, Alpine, Van Horn, Sierra Blanca, Fabens, Clint, the east side of El Paso, and also in Dimmitt County, which is Eagle Pass and Carrizo Springs.
Carrizo Springs.
Yes. Oh, Pearsall and Cotula, Divine, Dilly. Toda la raza de ahí. I need your help. And you know what? I'm the answer to the squad. We need a woman in Congress. We've been
Absolutely.
represented by men. I think it's time that we send a woman out there.
We have
Thank
to.
you.
Until next time. Peace.
Gracias.
The following political paid advertisements do not reflect the political opinions of the program or its associates. Any political campaign or candidate who wishes to purchase advertising can do so. Advertising is open to all on behalf of Gloves Off. Gloves Off is always on point. Bringing you the best on current issues, community affairs, and the happenings around us. This segment of Gloves Off is brought to you by the best, so pay them a visit. Check them out. This is Gloves Off.